A few weeks ago, I posted a video titled Why So Many Overachievers Are Eldest Daughters. And at the time I'm recording this video, it's my second highest viewed video. And in that video, I talked about the eldest daughter experience from my POV, the pressure to always be responsible, the pressure to be the example, the pressure to be the perfect older sister, the perfect cousin. But something recently happened that made me think deeper into my eldest daughter experience. And I want to talk about that today, especially being that, again, that conversation resonated with so many people. So in the video that I posted a few weeks ago, I shared my experience of being the eldest daughter, which is a little bit different from what you normally hear, because when we normally hear about eldest daughters, it's about them being the caretakers for their younger siblings. And that wasn't my experience. I wasn't made to be the caretaker of my younger siblings, but I did have unspoken pressure to be the example, to be perfect. And there was a lot of pressure that came along with that. And in the video, I talked about how my experience being the eldest daughter definitely led me to being an overachiever, a high achiever, overwork, pushing through, execute, chase, exceed at any cost, and ultimately led me to burnout. And I have younger brothers, and we are far apart in age. So not only did I feel like I had to be the example for them, I also had younger girl cousins who I felt like I definitely had to be the example for them. Also being a girl, it's like, I had to basically be perfect, make no mistakes, get good grades, make the right choices, do all of the things. And I did it. I did it all. I achieved, I excelled. I mean, I was such a good student that in eighth grade, I secured a 4-year college scholarship. And all I had to do was, of course, maintain my grades throughout my high school years. And I definitely, that pressure to be perfect. And again, it wasn't anything that my parents or my grandparents were verbalizing to me. It was like unspoken, because I knew my family valued education. They valued forward progression. They valued, success. And they wanted, their children, my grandparents, their grandchildren, to have healthy, successful lives. But last weekend, I was at my parents' house and, just catching up with my mom. We just chit-chatting or whatever. And I don't see one of my brothers as often as I see the other one. So, we'll text here and there, but I had, asked my mom, how's my brother doing, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, he's doing real good. She was like, he left, his job because of, a situation that was happening. And I was like, okay. And I remember her vaguely telling me that the line of work, this brother in particular, the career that he's in a leadership role. And how can I say this? There had been some drastic changes to the leadership structure, we'll say like that, that was not going well. It not only kind of disrupted the leadership structure, but it disrupted the business operations. And again, my brother was in a leadership role. So it basically had become a toxic environment and it wasn't going well. And I guess my brother was trying to, things change, companies change, needs change, business needs change, things change. Like we all get that. I had my experience and my corporate burnout, listen, we get that part. So I guess my brother was trying to just hang in there to see how things were going, see if things would get better, see if it was just, growing pains with the restructure or whatever the case may be. And I guess after several months of, trying to give it a try, he decided to leave and find another job. And when my mom told me this, it was like in that moment, like I could almost cry just talking about it. I don't want to cry. I cannot be crying on the internet. But when my mom told me that, it was almost like a wow moment to myself, because again, like thinking of my position as their older sister and them knowing what I had to experience. Again, I went through my burnout several years ago. So we're all adults. We're all living on our own. So they didn't know like the nitty gritty of what I was going through. But I'm sure because at the time when I was going through all this stress in my corporate career, and the only people that I told that I was leaving my job was my mom and my best friend. So I'm sure she might have shared some details with them, but just him being able to choose himself and not stay stuck in a place. And again, he was in a leadership role. He'd been with this company for many years, but he decided to choose himself and leave, like not stay stuck and leave that job to find another job. Now, again, he didn't take my approach because he didn't need it. Like I was burnt out to the max. Like when I left, I took a sabbatical. I needed the sabbatical, but I just felt such a level of pride knowing that he chose himself in that way. And it really just brought my experience around to, me having this pressure as a young child, being the example. It's almost like they really were watching me, and they really were taking actions that they saw me do as well. Like both of them are, college graduates. I mean, both my brothers are college graduates. Both my brothers are excelling in their careers. Like, it's like I provided that example. And for me to also provide an example of choosing yourself when you're in misalignment, when you're in a workplace that's misaligned, toxic, or no longer fitting your needs. You've outgrown the space. Like you want to pivot, you want to do something else, like whatever the reason may be. For my brother, I guess it ended up being a toxic work environment. But me being able to provide that example for him, like it just made me feel really good, and like brings back home that, like how I titled this video, when being the eldest daughter really does pay off. Like it was heavy when I was a child and a young adult, teenager, young adult, to have all of this pressure, but to see that my example allowed him to choose himself. Like I could even go like deeper into it, because like for him to be a man also and do this, like, I don't know, like I'm a woman. So my burnout experience, my experience of choosing myself is from a woman's POV. I talk to women like you. Like I really don't have these types of conversations with men. So I don't know if men are really out here choosing themselves like that. It makes me feel like they don't, because they have so much pressure to be providers and doers, and their worth is tied up in their work, similarly to us as ambitious, driven, responsible women. But I just don't know how many men are choosing themselves. And it just really made me feel good that my brother not only saw me do it, but he had the courage himself to do it. And just to not stay stuck in a place that he had put many years into, excuse me, had climbed, into leadership. And he chose himself. He chose to leave the environment. I wrote down here, like my shift in perspective. I wrote, for a long time, I've thought about the pressure of being the eldest daughter, but that moment made me realize something else, that maybe it wasn't just pressure, but maybe it was influence, even when I didn't realize it. So I know, again, like, so many eldest daughters have a different experience from me, being the caretaker. And I know that's a lot of stress. That's a heavy, heavy burden to bear. And I didn't have that experience. My experience was a more around of like, being perfect, following every step perfectly, following the ladder, do this, achieve, be the example, don't make mistakes, like, and that's just a lot of pressure for a young girl. But to see that both my brothers are doing very well in their lives, in their careers, and when my mom told me this story, it really touched my heart. Like, my brothers are really out here choosing themselves. And that really means a lot, because we only have one life to live. We all have responsibilities. We all have bills to pay. But if we don't take care of ourselves, like, really none of that really matters. If you're too burnt out, stressed out, upset, anxious, depressed, whatever it may be, to enjoy the things that you're working for, then, like, what's the use? So if I wrote this down too. So if you're a eldest daughter out there who can resonate with my experience, my POV as an eldest daughter, I wrote, sometimes you don't realize the example you're setting until someone quietly follows it. And hearing that my brother made that choice, honestly, made me just so proud of him. It really, really did. And I know, again, being the eldest daughter can be a lot of pressure. It can be a lot of responsibility. But I feel like every once in a while, when you can see the example that you set matters. Sometimes when you are able to see the example that you set really matters. It really touched my heart. And just being that video that I posted several weeks ago, is one of my highest views on the day that I'm filming this video. I just kind of wanted to do like a little bit of a follow-up story, especially with my mom just telling me about this last weekend. It just really made me reflect on being the eldest daughter, setting the example, and then really seeing my brothers follow my example in this way. Because again, they have followed my example. Again, they went to college. One of my brother has multiple degrees. They're excelling in their career. So I was able to see that they were kind of following my example, but to follow my example in this way of choosing himself and not staying stuck. Proud sister moment. I can definitely say proud sister moment. So if you're an eldest sibling, I want you to maybe think about this. Have you ever had a moment where you realized someone was quietly watching the choices you were making? If so, let me know down in the comments if you can resonate with this in any way. And I'm Erica Prevail. I share daily conversations helping driven, purpose-led women rework their relationship with ambition, capacity, rest, and creativity. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.